Framework and cybersecurity, we have many frameworks that could support the cybersecurity or information security program implementation. And as we mentioned earlier, framework in the term of security or in InfoSec and governance is the philosophy for how doing a certain task. You might hear that in framework in application development is a different thing. In application development, framework means the tools, technique, methods used in order to achieve the objective of developing this system. So you will have like tools, software, and so on that contribute in achieving or in building a certain software. But this is the definition of framework from the perspective of application development. So the term is different from application development team and the cybersecurity and information security teams. We have different types of framework. So we have risk frameworks, we have legal frameworks such as the GDPR, we have program framework such as the program to implement the ISO standard in your organization, service operation framework such as ITIL, control framework such as the COBIT, governance such as the TOGAF, and other models that we discussed when we are discussing the TOGAF framework. So here is a summary for the key frameworks that you as an organization can decide to adopt in order to achieve a certain standard or comply with a certain regulation. So I am here highlighting the key parts that you need to mention. PCI is about online payment and cardholder data. And as although this is not a legal standard, but must be adhered to if in case you are processing card holder data or CHD. HIPAA is a legal framework and it is about securing medical reports, and it care about PHI or personal health information. We have also GDPR, which is related to Europe citizen personal data, and it is legal framework and it deals with the PII. Also, we have the NIST critical success factor, and it is not mandatory except for Department of Defense contractors in the United States. So if you want to work with the Department of Defense as a contractor, your organization should be comply with the NIST critical success factor standard. So here I'm just describing what are the key frameworks that you need to care about. GDPR is one of the framework that is related to the privacy, and be aware that constitution forms kind of laws, and law include what is called act, and act will result in a regulation. And in order to comply with this regulation, you need to meet certain requirements from technical perspective. So in this case, we may find something called GDPR framework, and it provides the method or provides the guidelines for how to achieve the compliance with the regulation requirements from technical perspective. Okay. So GDPR have like 7 key requirements, like it require or promote transparency for the purpose of acquiring this data, and what the acquirer or what the processor or the collector of this data will handle this data. What will be the purpose of this data, and to ensure that the data will be used only for the specified and agreed upon purpose. It also promotes the data minimization, which means only relevant data will be needed about the subject. I am acquiring data to purchase or to contract on a new phone service, so I need only the data that will be needed to support this service, to avoid collecting too much and excessive data. Accuracy, that this is the right for the data subject to validate the data accuracy from time to time and update this data whenever needed. Storage limitation, the data should be stored in known location and within the Europe area, not outside the Europe area if I am storing personal information about European citizen. Data should be subject to integrity and confidentiality requirement to secure the data, and the owner or the processor or collector of the data should be accountable about the securing of this data. So this is the key directives about what GDPR or the General Data Protection Regulation Standard is about. BCI is another standard, or it is in this case not a legal standard, but it is a standard that aim to protect or related to online payment and cardholder data. And it have like 12 requirements, and these requirements we will go through every one of it. First one is to install and maintain firewall. Remove any default configuration from your system. Protect the data stored on your environment, like by applying encryption and so on. Encrypt transmission for application and clients. So you have websites that produce or perform kind of e-payment. You need to have secure transport protocol like TLS in place. Use HTTPS. Using using antivirus and update it from time to time. Develop secure system and application by implementing secure application development lifecycle. Ensure that your new application is subject to pen testing, having a change management in place, and so on. Restrict access by the concept of need to know. So the least privilege should be granted to the users. Assign unique ID for each person with computer access. That means there should be no shared accounts in place. So accounts such as root, admin contradict with the BCI requirements. And in case we still need to use a shared account, we should look for a compensating control. Be aware that in order to comply with BCI, you need to subject to a BCI audit. So the auditor of the BCI will ask for evidences that support all these claims. So it will require a list of users on Active Directory to ensure, or list of administrator user or administrative users on the BCI servers or servers that include cardholder data, to ensure that there is no unidentified user or a shared or anonymous account in place that does not uniquely identify a certain user. Restrict physical access. So it is not only digital access, but also physical, like access control, security or physical security, and so on. Do monitoring. Test the security by testing vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, and so on. Maintaining a policy or establishing a security policy that manages security of the organization. This is the 12 requirement of the BCI. And as you mentioned, during our course, we discussed all of this. So once you pass the CISA, you will have like 90% of the needed knowledge that you might encounter in many certification or many other certifications. Okay. ISO also is a framework that help organization to achieve the ISO standard, and the ISO as well have like a lot of requirement. I believe like 24 requirements, as much as I can, categorized in 10 broad categories. But in each category or in each parent category, we have requirements that, such as we need awareness training, we need clear communication between different business functions, we need IT policy to be in place, we need leadership and commitment from top management, we need organizational structure and defined rules and responsibilities in IT security, we need management to review the performance of IT and information security from time to time, we need to have ongoing monitoring and internal audit function. So you will find also all of these terms and all of these requirements are somehow related to what we have discussed during our course. Human resource security is very important because in ISO, for instance, we have in ISO requirements for human security. So we need to have resources management, we need to have compliance, we need to have